What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of GRID Live Encore. I'm Ben Schneider alongside Brandon Crossland, Joshua Burch, and look who's back. Our ARCA expert and USF expert as well, Casey Campbell, joins the GRID Live Encore show. Once again, Casey, great to see you. How's it been, my man?
It has been well. Thank you so much for having me back. It is so good to be back. I do want to thank all of you guys. Want to also shout out Joe Sammiego and Kobe Lambeth as well, and the entire GRID team. It is so good to be back. And also, I'm coming off covering a race weekend at the ARCA. I was at Berlin this past weekend for the ARCA race, and still a lot to get into. So yeah, it should be fun. I can't wait for that. But we got to talk Moto2 and Moto3 first.
Yeah, well, Josh is here to do just that, and we will get into that right now. Of course, obviously, Casey's coverage from ARCA at Berlin coming up here in just a few moments once we get through that. But first, as always, want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin Deschelle, Mark Robin, and David. Your support means the world to us. It's what allowed me to take my trip to Portland and Sonoma last week and 2 weeks ago, and also what's going to allow Joe to be on site for Formula E at Portland this upcoming weekend as well. So any amount will help us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. If you want to join these lovely Patreon supporters or go through the one-time donation of Buy Me a Coffee, any amount helps us grow what we're trying to produce here over at GRID Network, and it will go a long way in improving the content for you all and helping us get to a racetrack on a more regular basis. I know, Josh, you were supposed to be out there at Portland with Joe, but unfortunately the travel expenses just didn't quite work out. So you want to see Josh out there with Joe at Portland next year, Formula E, make sure you support us on Patreon. That's one way you can make your contribution to help us get there.
It really hurts because my flight was supposed to leave today to take over, because it would have taken about 15 hours to get over there. So I should have been in London this evening getting a flight from Heathrow, but sadly not. And no matter where we looked at East Midlands Airport, everywhere. It was over £1,000, and that's one way, then come back as well. So a bit too much at the moment, but hopefully next year travel prices will ease down and I'll be able to get there. Commentating this weekend on the race for the E-Prix is going to be very hard because I have a pass. An FIA media pass has been created for me, and I got an email saying please pick it up from the accreditation centre between Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, all that lot. And I was like, I'm not there. It really hurts. I really never had anything hurt more in my life than not being there. So yes, please do. The Patreon and the Buy Me a Coffee are wonderful to support creators like us, bringing you all the action. So yeah, everything is welcome and everything is very much appreciated. And I speak from experience when we say how grateful we all are for every opportunity we get. And yeah, my plan is always, I've got another event planned that we're hoping to get into, a bit more local, up in Scotland, which is about 6 hours away from me, where I am, for touring cars. We're looking into that now as a backup, but the big eye is on the big prize of coming stateside next year and being the Englishman in Portland to really get on everybody's nerves and join you lot over there stateside. And we'll have to do like a meetup if that happens as well, because it's going to be extremely weird that I'm there. Bring Julia on as well and do the whole European section all together as well. But yeah, so yeah, it hurts, this one.
Well, we will keep our fingers crossed for next year. But Josh, in the meantime, we've got some Moto2 and Moto3 to recap. So go ahead and take it away.
Yes, well, I couldn't bring you last weekend's recap as well due to some legal battles I've been facing as well. So just a quick little wrap of what happened in the Italian Grand Prix. Absolutely nothing happened in the Italian Grand Prix. Acosta won from Alberino in second in Moto2, and that pretty much kept the championship level. Now, you might remember the French Grand Prix, Acosta crashed out, and they went in level on points. So in Moto2 this week, after Acosta won the Italian Grand Prix, it was exactly the same result. Acosta won here, taking the gap down to 15 points in the standings, now going into the third race in this Triple Crown next weekend at Assen. Tony Alberino finishing in second place. Jake Dixon fought up from sixth to third as well. Great stuff from him, because he did start third but dropped back and managed to find his way back up with some stellar moves. In fact, he was battling with Tony Alberino right up to the line. Biggest surprise for me, though, is Songkat Chandra, a rider that I've personally as well been pushing throughout all the commentaries. An experienced rider and a fast aggressive rider. He's got all the hallmarks of being someone who could be a world champion in the future. Sam Lowe started 6th, dropped to 7th as well. Alonso Lopez was a bit risky and got a few warnings as well for pushing people off the racing line during the race, but pretty much it was a cool, calm one. Moto2 and Moto3 was quite similar, where it was a long race where it was quick and then it was quite exciting at the start, slowed down in the middle, and got exciting at the end. But at the back as well, I'm sorry, Ben, but your namesake sort of dropped out at the back there with Ben Schneider as well. It's Ben Schneider, but it is how you pronounce it, Ben Schneider, which is your name. It's fantastically funny, and I'll never get over it. Every time I say it in the commentary, I'm like, I stopped myself saying, you might have seen it because we were live this weekend. Moto3, though, was hands down the best race of the weekend across the MotoGP as well. This was the best one because Dennis Onchu has been trying for years. It's taken him 63 starts in Moto3 to get a race win. He's been a reputation of a crasher, been a reputation of a reckless rider, but finally he got that. And it was a move perfectly done. I said Moto3 was boring. Usually it's pack racing. The top two jumped away throughout the field for all the race. Onchu stayed behind Sasaki for 10 laps as well, literally right behind him. And on every single lap for those 10, right down to the last corner, he was practicing moves left and right around the Sachin ring, which is 9 left-hand corners and 3 right-hand corners. And he was practicing everywhere, left and right, just sort of seeing where he can throw the move on the inside. At the last corner on the second to last lap, as well, the penultimate one, he looked to the inside to see if it was possible to do a dive bomb. Sasaki noticed it. And the next time around, after trying everything, he went for the move on the inside. Sasaki cut across the inside line, then pulled back off, thinking he got the move done. Onchu stayed late on the inside, gave it the welly on the throttle, and went up the hill first. Sasaki didn't know what caught him, and Onchu won by 0.095 of a second. His first ever Moto3 win after being second for so long, and the first Turkish rider to do so. Fantastic race for him. That was brilliant. Hologado holding off in third, keeping the championship lead as well. So a great Moto3, a great Moto2, a great MotoGP. It was a great, great weekend. Started fast, slow in the middle, but great at the end. It was a good race. It felt more of an endurance race as well. And I couldn't talk to you about MotoGP last weekend because I got a copyright strike, but I got my live streams back and I'm winning the case. And my embargo with the legal department stopped so I can talk about it. Don't block content creators that are growing the sport as well, because literally I got blocked for showing track footage. You've all seen my work. I don't do that. I don't. It's me in a box with a timing time tweet deck. I don't know. So I've won that little legal battle and all that. But yeah, it was really poor. So my one message there is be kind and just let your content creators grow. Dorno MotoGP, especially MotoGP, have got a long way to grow. Because I was speaking to Julia about this as well, our colleague here at GRID Network. Oh, and she said, World Superbikes, which is still on Madonna, fantastically amazing people, open, kind, bring you into the paddock, love and support you. MotoGP, though, as I've experienced, and I know she says that as well, sometimes a bit frosty. Sometimes a bit like you've got to work a bit harder with them. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to it because this weekend, Megan's not with us for Assen this weekend. So Julia's stepping into the commentary box for the first time. So the two colleagues at the GRID Network will be calling the race. And of course, you can see the coverage of Formula E from Portland alongside Joe's fantastic trackside stuff. But myself, Ed, and Adam are commentating on the races, and they will be uploaded here to the GRID Network like we do for the IndyCar. So you can see it all here as well. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a great weekend. If you can't be there, watch it on the television. It's what everybody else does.
Well, Josh, we will look forward to that. In the meantime, before we let you go, what's your one shining moment from possibly the Moto2, Moto3 weekend or any of the other racing that we saw this weekend in motorsports?
To be fair, I think even outside of everything that we saw from Formula One, from IndyCar as well, I have only just caught up on IndyCar. I'm halfway through it actually because it was a direct clash. I saw first 10 laps, then I had to leave the commentary box in the capable hands of Jess and Ed. So I've been watching it with USF's commentary, and I'm halfway through the race. It seems quite fun. Carl Kirkwood's on a comeback charge. I know he finished quite well, but outside of all the racing, has to be without a doubt 2 moments. Number one, Max Verstappen equaling Ayrton Senna's record of 41 race wins. That is absolutely brilliant. always nice to see a record being equalled by what is looking like to be 2 3-time world champions. And without a doubt, I think my one shining moment of the weekend has to come from Dennis Onshu finally getting a race win, because he was always destined for a race win. He's been denied so many times. It's been a long road to recovery in terms of getting his mojo back in his mental game. And I was so proud to see him practice a great move, do the great move, and win an all-time great. I honestly think I commentated on the start of what is going to be a legend of motorcycle racing on that race, because that was a champion's ride and a champion's move. So Onshu is my top picker winner.
All right, well, Josh, thank you so much for your coverage as always, and we will talk to you soon. And again, keep your fingers crossed for next year, which you'll be able to join Joe out of Portland. But in the meantime, we know you're going to be covering it as well as you usually do from the UK, so we'll look forward to that.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday. And finally, welcome back, Casey. It's nice to have you back. And yeah, I look forward to our Grid Tonight shows on Wednesday as well. I know you said you were coming back to that as well. So nice to have you back, my friend, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, sounds good.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Josh. All right, well, let's get into the ARCA Menards Series and a thrilling finish to the race. It looked like it was going to be absolute domination from Jesse Love, not so much unlike what we saw in last year's race at Berlin, leading pretty much every lap, 198, and then William Sawalich got him with just a couple of laps to go. Now, Jesse Love was not too happy with the driver of number 18, just as his adventuring teammate Sean Higurani wasn't a couple of weeks ago. Take a listen to what both of them had to say about Sawalich's move for the win.
The 18 closed up really quick and shocked me, and then didn't race us, just used us up really bad. So definitely frustrating. I raced him really clean. He jumped every restart there was, and I just have to keep that in mind going forward. Obviously, I got to wreck him, so I'll go wreck him and be done with it. I'll probably have to wreck him once for racing us dirty, and then wreck him again for taking a win away from us. So somebody's got to do it, or else people will never learn.
I feel bad for Jesse and the team as everyone's getting sick of the way the 18 drives.
All right, of course, those interviews from our own Casey Campbell. One more thing before we get into this topic, Casey. I think Josh might have just misspoken. You are sticking to the Encore show, right? You're not back on.
Correct, yes.
Okay. So we'll clarify that. In the meantime, thank you so much for the interviews again, but I want to get your take on this as well. Was the last lap pass as dirty as Jesse Love and Sean Higurani appeared to claim it to be in their interviews here?
Well, this is not the first time that these two have that the Gibbs and the Venturini car have gotten together. Of course, you go back to the last race that I was at Flat Rock. It happened. It happened at that time too, but it was. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. It is quite interesting to see, how these races go. But it's the last lap, and you can really do anything. And Williams gotten the best of them. Jesse dominated that race, and lo and behold, the 18 wins again on the last lap. Same thing happened last year. Otherwise, last year was a mechanical issue for Daniel Dye, which led to a Sammy Smith win. And obviously this year was the bump and run. So it is quite interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what Elko brings, because we'll have to see, because this is getting really interesting, and this is the second time this has happened. So whether it was dirty or not, that's up to you to decide. I've seen different things from different people, so we'll just have to see how this all turns out when we go to Elko next week. So by the way, if you're a main ARCA fan, like the fan of the main series, you're going to be seeing them a lot these next few weeks. I think they're going to be racing 15 out of the next 18 weeks. So they're going to be racing quite a bit. And they've raced, the ARCA platform is on a streak wherever there's been a race since, you have to go back to Talladega back in April. Talladega and Kern, and it will go all the way to the third week of September at Bristol. So when we decide the ARCA East Championship. So yeah, it's going to be quite a bit of racing, and for the ARCA platform. And I know my good friend ARCA PR director Charlie Krall is going to be at all of them or either at the race or calling the race. So good stuff there as always. But ARCA is going to be racing a lot and throughout the next few weeks, and so is Cup, so is Xfinity, and you'll see the Truck Series there too. So really, really heating up as the summer begins.
Brandon, one of the things that I think might play a factor into this is thinking back to what Ty Gibbs did in the 18 car in the ARCA Menards Series just a couple of years ago, and kind of ruffling some feathers in his Xfinity Series career as well. Do you think there's just some heightened sensitivity around the driver of the 18, no matter who it is, whether it's Sammy Smith or William Sawalich here, or whoever's going to get in the 18 and the races that Sawalich wasn't eligible for at the start of a year? Do you think that might play a role just psychologically in what the Venturini guys are going through? I think you're muted there, Brandon.
Yeah, I think we can't hear Brandon.
Let me try that again. As much as I think that's a conspiracy, as much as I think that's a conspiracy theory sounding thing, Ben, I think there is some truth to that. Possibly, that 18 number there on the car, just it does something to the competition. And Gibbs, they know it, and any driver that gets in that car is going to have to get ready for some criticism and also some very magnified speculation as they go throughout their season. And Sawalich is no exception, as you saw there. Of course, you can think of this either way, but I didn't really appreciate the pessimism from Jesse Love, and not only the interview we got there with Casey, but also some of the other ones he got from that same stance there post-race. And of course, I didn't really see enough of this last lap pass. I mean, I saw it, of course, but I didn't see it from Love's point of view, and also Higurani for saying how aggressive it was. But I also don't think it's warranted to say I guess I got to wreck him a couple of times, wreck him 2 times, wreck him 3 times to prove my point. I don't really appreciate when drivers get, pessimistic like that and cynical, and just, I guess I'm going to have to play his game, play dirty. And I mean, that we're continuing this culture, then it's at the lower levels, and it rises up to the top too. And that's just something we're looking out for. And Elko going there, it's going to be tighter quarters from what I understand. So let the rivalry continue, and he'll get his chances to whack-a-mole, I guess.
I think he's maybe earned a bump and run back. Sawalich has. I don't know, but he's necessarily earned being wrecked twice as Jesse Love is threatening to do here. So I think that, that would be a retaliation a little bit too far. Now, there's no doubt that Sawalich has made contact with Venturini Toyotas a couple of times to come through and get these wins here. But at the same time, I don't think the amount of contact he's made, it's not like he's just flat out cleaned a Toyota teammate out here, and completely ruined their day. They've both still, gone on to, finish in the top 2 or 3 both times that he's made them a little bit mad here. So I don't think cleaning them out would be the answer. But I think, if you're Jesse Love, if you're Sean Higurani, if you have the opportunity to, maybe shove him up a groove to win a race, I think, that would be more than fair at this point. It hasn't been 100% clean, but at the same time, I don't see anything here that's he certainly will be justified in, spinning him out here now, and, certainly not right where hooking anybody. I don't think it's ever, justifiable in these cars here. But, that's kind of my take on that. I don't see it as big of a deal as maybe the Venturini guys are leading on.
I'm thinking just from a Berlin perspective, that's way too far. But I guess if you go back to some of the history, then, well, maybe you've got a stance.
Remember, Elko is the shortest track on the ARCA circuit. So usually it's 200 laps around these short tracks. Obviously, Elko is going to be 250 laps. So, and also that is William Sawalich's home track. So that would be
bunch of fans in the stands.
Oh yeah, the land of 10,000 lakes. So it should be a good show at Elko. By the way, that race is at 9 p.m. on FS2. Obviously last week's was on FS1, FS2 this week. So just wanted to give everyone the programming note there.
That's still a big deal, though. I'm really, really cool that we've got them all on FS1 or FS2.
Yeah, that is a big deal. And well, speaking of the networks, I'll about this. Yeah, if you noticed, there was the broadcast. I would say, well, since you mentioned the broadcast, I figured I'd mention this. I know there's been a lot of attention about that. I've seen some of it, but yeah, I thought it was solid. Yeah, you can say what you want about the call at the end on the final lap, but overall it was pretty good.
For Brent Stover's first ever race, I thought he did a good job. Obviously, the finish was not great, and I don't know if that was due to timing and scoring, being behind in the booth, or whatever the case may be there. But from what I understand, he's been made aware, and I'm sure he was aware in the moment, that he had continued to call the race after the finish, and we'll try to clean that up for Elko this week. But also the graphics department. I know we can, Fox has been the butt of jokes, several times in the past, but I want to give a shout out to 123-year-old Jeff Smith for absolutely destroying Herschel McGriff's record there. That was quite an amusing stat that popped up on the screen that didn't seem quite so right. And then I believe Tony Constantino, I don't know where he picked up those 3 career wins as well, but congratulations to him. I must have missed those. I don't know where Fox must have seen something I didn't.
Yeah. That's showing up on Racing Reference tomorrow. We'll get that updated for you.
Sounds good. All right. Well, before we move on here, I want to say hi to Adam Lemmery in the chat. Welcome back, Casey. By the way, nice interviews from the ARCA Series Berlin Raceway. And of course, if you want the full interviews from Jesse Love and Sean Higurani and several other drivers in the ARCA Menards Series at Berlin this past weekend, the full interviews are on Casey's YouTube channel. You can go check those out after the show. Let's play one more right now. Let's talk a little bit about the third member of the Venturini Motorsports team, Toni Breidinger. She finally captured a top 5 finish this past weekend in Berlin. Here is what she said to Casey after the race.
5th place finisher Toni Breidinger. How about that run out there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could have cleaned some things up on my part. Lap cars were a little bit tricky to navigate. I think I could have done a little bit of better job with that, but Venturini gave me a great car. Kaden did a great job. Spider did a great job. Everyone did a really great job. Every adjustment we made at the brakes really helped us out. So, yeah, I mean, I think I'm really, really happy with this team, and there's a couple things I could work on my end, but overall pretty solid for them.
Well, Casey, obviously, we've been following Toni's career in the ARCA Menards Series for a long time. Is this a positive sign of improvement for Toni Breidinger going forward?
Yes, it is. She's been having a pretty good solid runs, and I know you're going to talk about that more on the Women in Motorsports show on Friday. But it is good to see that she's having some solid runs these past few weeks. Whether it's in an ARCA car or whether it's in a truck. She's actually going to make her next truck start this coming week at Nashville she'll be in the 1 truck for Tricon Garage. So she's been really improving lately. And remember, she wasn't scheduled to do this race. She found out about it this week. So she really improved on her craft since the last time that she was here. And yeah, she's been really, really impressive she was really impressive this week. But yes, I think she is taking the step in the right direction in her career. I know she's doing a lot of things with Toyota, so that's good to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I've said this on this show before. I've said this on the Women in Motorsports show. It's been no secret that Toni has come under a lot of criticism for not being at the level of her Venturini teammates, and I still think she has a couple of steps to go. Obviously, Jesse Love was dominant all night, and Sean Higurani was up there in the top 3 as well. But to go from being, multiple laps down in some races last year, going to tracks for the first time, really struggling to get up to speed, to being a little bit more on pace here and qualifying as well as she did. I want to give a shout out to her there as well. Breidinger qualified in P4. So, very strong run up in the top 5 for much of the night, and obviously finishing there as well. So, I think she's earned the opportunities that she's gotten in the truck series and the additional opportunities that she's picked up in ARCA. And I look forward to seeing her continue to build on this momentum and improve here, because I think it's been great to see her take those steps forward, because I know it's been difficult for her these last couple of years getting up to speed, but she looks like she's finally starting to get there, and that's very much a good thing. So we're looking forward to seeing what she can do to keep that momentum going. Now, let's move one spot down the running order here, and let's talk about everybody's favorite actor turned racing driver here, Frankie Muniz, finishing in P6, equaling his best career result. Casey was able to speak with him after the race as well. Here's what he had to say about his first trip to Berlin.
It felt really good. The biggest thing is I've got to keep racing and completing all the laps in order to have the opportunity to learn. and we did that, right? We made it to the end, cars clean, ready for next week, and I definitely learned a lot. I learned I need to be better in qualifying 100%. The starts, I thought I was being aggressive. Oh man, I got eaten alive, and I'm not afraid to admit it because it's facts, and I know I need to work on it. And I'm a bit hard on myself, but I feel like in this sport, you only have so many opportunities, so I've got to improve right away. You know what I mean? And that's what I hope to do.
Sorry about that there. Casey, that sounds to me like somebody who is very serious about what he's doing here in the ARCA Menards Series this year. And I know it's been a common theme that we've mentioned on this show before, but what else stood out to you most from your conversation with him? And, should we start thinking about 2024 and what Frankie might be doing next year?
We should. I know it was reported that he had something in the works for 2024, and then he later clarified, yes, he'll be racing in that time. But, there's still plans are obviously still being finalized and all that, but they're still trying to work some things out. They're actually still looking for some sponsorship with that team. So, obviously, if you're a partner that wants to do that, I know they're still looking for some. So I know that Red Jones is really working on trying to get some more partners for that team and with Muniz as well. So that's it's good to see there. But yeah, you should have seen the big crowd outside his hauler after the race. It's and you're going to see that everywhere you go. I mean, it's I said this in the beginning of the season. One of the coolest stories out there is just having him in there. It's huge to have him here, to be racing in ARCA. It's probably one of the biggest stories I've ever covered in racing, but just to talk with him and all that stuff was pretty cool. And just one of the most nicest people, most genuine people I've ever met in my time in racing. And I also made everyone that I went to high school with pretty jealous that I actually met him.
Yeah, it's a really big news there all year long. Big picture wise for the ARCA Menards Series, easily. Frankie Muniz being in the garage, and actually he can drive, and that's been really interesting to watch all year. And you need to see the full interview on Casey Campbell's YouTube channel, by the way, the full interview there with Frankie. You really got to see more of he wants improvement and he wants it quickly. And that's as cool as that is. It also makes you a little nervous for his future because you don't want him to, be impatient about the process of learning. But I mean, it's his first time at Berlin. It's his first time everywhere. And so he's getting to see what these places are like. And he's taking those notes. He's going to be able to hopefully grab some partners for next year. That would be really nice to see and see this kind of thing continue. And of course the fans love him. And that's probably one of the coolest parts is that we get some big star power in the ARCA Menards Series. And it's someone who really wants to be there and can actually do well.
And Casey, just to clarify, because I know some people were asking some questions about this as well. Of course, Frankie has mentioned on multiple occasions that he is still looking for partners for the 2023 season to come on board.
Yes.
That's not at risk of him not being able to run the full season, right? He's going to run the full season. It's just a matter of trying to bring more people on board to improve the funding and sponsorship situation there. Is that right?
To my knowledge, yes. I'll have to check with a few people on that, but yes, that is the plan.
Yeah, and well, Brandon, I get what you're saying as well, because I think some people have maybe floated out the possibility, we know Frankie has trucks and maybe even Xfinity Series ambitions. Would 2024 potentially be too big of a jump too quickly? Should he spend another year in ARCA learning the stock car world and trying to improve there before making that jump? Or if he's serious about it and he's willing to be a fast learner, maybe is there more to learn in the truck series or a higher level like that? What's your take on where he should be racing in 2024 if he's serious about making these gains as quickly as he wants to?
I mean, of course, he knows his time is limited. He talked about that in the interview too, that he knows chances are, quick and hard to come by. You don't have too much time. But honestly, if I was him, I would go against my desires and I would stay in ARCA another year. Now I don't know if that's what's going to happen or if that's the smart move, or I don't really know. But I think going from ARCA to trucks is a really big jump, and not everyone is ready for it. And I don't think that's something to make just yet, but who knows?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors at play there, but you're right. What we've seen with Haley Deegan, for example, the first couple of years in particular in the truck series, it's a massive jump. I think it's a bigger jump than a lot of people realize, and that's what makes the drivers that can make that jump so quickly and win in their third or fifth or seventh truck start or whatever as impressive as it is, because you're dealing with a field that, heck, there were 17 cars at Berlin this weekend. There's 36 trucks in a truck series race, so literally double the field size, and very different tracks and very different styles of racing as well. It is a massive jump to make. And again, I get what Frankie Muniz is saying as well. Being 37 years old, that is much older than your typical rookie nowadays, particularly in the ARCA Menards Series. But at the same time, we see drivers continue to race in their mid 40s and race very well at that. I think it's not like he only has 1 or 2 years to make this happen. If he's serious about this and wants to be in the sport for several years going forward, maybe another year of ARCA isn't such a bad idea. But again, if that opportunity comes, it may be too good to pass up. He may end up making that jump, and we'll see where the results are from there. I would expect him to take several races to get up to speed, but who knows, he might surprise us as well. We'll never know until we actually see it happen next year, whatever it is.
Yeah, he's surprised me a lot so far. I wouldn't put it past him to just hop in a truck and be one of those guys that can just find his niche and get clicking. That really wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, and I think equipment will play a big part of it as well, because I think with,
for sure,
I wouldn't call Rhett Jones bad equipment by any means, but I also don't know that it's necessarily got the same amount of support that your Venturinis and certainly not your Joe Gibbs 18 car have. So if Frankie could get in a top truck or top equipment in that series as well, we'll see what he would be capable of. But it's going to be interesting to follow his story. And again, as Casey talked about, still looking for sponsors for this year, let alone next year. So if anybody knows anybody that would love an opportunity to partner with Frankie Muniz, he is certainly keeping an eye out for that. So we'll see what comes of that the rest of this year as well. All right, well, let's move on now to INDY NXT and the USF series at Road America. And Casey, I know it was a very interesting INDY NXT race. We'll start with that. Nolan Siegel picking up yet another win, and then really increasing his points lead because his main championship rival, Christian Rasmussen, you see him all the way down there in last place. So take us through what stood out to you in INDY NXT, what happened with Rasmussen, and where the championship stands right now.
Yeah, the championship actually stands. I wrote this down. Now he's got a 40-point lead on Christian Rasmussen. And actually, I just watched this race before I popped on here because obviously I was a little preoccupied this weekend with the ARCA race at Berlin. But Nolan Siegel's been really impressive so far this year. Nolan was on the channel last week. I might try to get him on this coming week, and so stay tuned for that. But he's been really impressive so far this season. Nolan's got a lot of talent. Just graduated high school not too long ago, so he is definitely going to be one to watch. Going forward, I wouldn't count Christian Rasmussen out of the championship hunt, but he's got to start winning some races if he wants to catch back up. There's not much season left. Mid Ohio is coming up. I know they're the next. The next races, I think everyone except Toronto is INDY NXT will be racing in. So they'll be at Indy, they'll be at Portland, they'll be at Laguna Seca, they'll be at WWT Raceway. As I said, they'll be at Mid Ohio. They'll be at everywhere IndyCar is except for Toronto. So yeah.
Well, Casey, obviously, of course, it's been a couple months since we got to talk to you about this series. I know we've been tracking Jamie Chadwick, obviously, on the Women in Motorsports show. Yeah. She had a solid qualifying effort up in P9, I believe, but then got shuffled back on the opening lap and was only able to make up a couple of spots. So she's 17th in points right now. That's the lowest of every driver that's run all the races. We expected her to take a little bit of time to get up to speed since these cars are very different from what she's used to over in Europe. But how would you rate how her season's gone so far in her debut in the next campaign?
I think it's been going fairly well. She's learning very, very quickly at a lot of places, improving every week. And that's really all you need to do. When you come from that world, it does take some time when you're so used to what it is. So, but Kobe, I do agree. It's Kobe Lamb, our good colleague Kobe Lambeth to send. Although the final result does not reflect it, Jamie Chadwick did took a big step forward at Road America, and she did. I know that Andretti has not gotten the wins that they wanted to, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes. But looking down at the list, Hunter McElroy's been doing really well, and then another solid run for Reese Gold too. If you remember, during my time I was away, Reese Gold actually switched teams, so went from Hunkos Racing to HMD, and then Rasmus Lin took his ride. So in the mid that happened, Matteo Nannini got a win. So lots of things that are going on in this series. INDY NXT has been so much fun to watch this year. So good stuff there. All right, let's. I know we got some other series that we need to talk about.
We do. Do you want the pro results first, or you go?
Let's do Indy Pro first. We'll make our way down the ladder, but Michael D'Orlando getting the big win. Turn 3 Motorsport getting the win at Road America. So good race there. Miles Rowe coming in second. Jordan Mizik coming in third. Good run for the two PAPS teams. Jonathan Brown had a good run as well. Kiko Porto had a really, really good run, rounding out the top 5. But just a lot of solid results. Another good solid result for Christian Weir as well. Christian had a really, really good weekend. Christian appears on my channel quite often. He might be on this week before we head to Mid Ohio, and he was just telling me all the little nuances about Road America, how to get around that place. So learning a lot about these road courses as well. I'm gonna need to learn about some Mid Ohio because I think I'm gonna be heading down. I might be heading down. I should say there's a good chance I'm heading down there for the Truck and ARCA weekend. That is actually, I believe, it's not Grid Network's next race because, of course, they'll be in Portland this week. But yeah, it should be fun stuff, some stuff there. Let's go to race 2 if we can. First win for TJ Speed Motorsports, Liram Zendelli. Actually, a good weekend there. Christian Weir was actually on the pole for this race, but obviously had a tough day in there, finished 16th. But good run for the team, good run from Liram. Obviously, if you know that name. Of course, he was in Formula 2 last year. Another good run for Kiko Porto. Good run for Jonathan Brown and Miles Rowe. Pretty tight battle for the championship in that series. Miles Rowe still I should say, pretty good battle as Miles Rowe still leads after nine races. So definitely a good battle there. I mean, 209, Francesco Pizzi second in points, and then Kiko Porto is currently third in points right now, and then Joel Granforce in fourth. All right, let's head over to USF 2000, race number 1. How about Simon Sykes? Another big win for him. Jacob Douglas, of course, if you may remember, there was a big announcement this week regarding him. He switched teams. He is now part of Pabst Racing, coming over from the exclusive team. As well, Nikita Johnson coming in third with the VRD guys. Chase Gardner had a good run, and then of course Elliot Cox with I know that Sarah Fisher has helped him out with a lot of big stuff there. So a good run for him. Let's go to race 2 if we can, and Loki Hughes gets the big win. So a good run for the Jay Howard development team. Matt Clark, of course, the USF Juniors champion from last year. In D-Force Racing, of course, a fellow Canadian, of course, hailing from Canada. Max Garcia, good run for him in third. And this is actually a really tight points battle there. 10 out of after 10 races, there's only a 3-point differential between the top 2 with Loki Hughes and Simon Sykes. So it should be interesting to see those two battle it out the next few weeks. And by the way, the next race for both USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000 will be at Mid Ohio, along with Indy NXT. All this series will be at Mid Ohio. The next race for USF Juniors will be a week later. They will be racing as part of the NASCAR Truck and ARCA weekend. And of course, obviously, all those series will be covered right here on Grid Network.
Okay, so we appreciate your coverage of these series. Thank you for those updates. And now let's go into the one shining moment, and we'll go over to Brandon first. What's your one shining moment from this past weekend in the world of racing?
Well, fellas, I had to choose something that didn't happen at all on our show today anyway. I had to go with the NASCAR Better Half Dash, which happened on NASCAR Race Hub this weekend.
Yeah.
And involved all the better halves of NASCAR drivers. And McCall Galding got the win. That's the better half of Zane Smith. But also, not only that, I wanted to give a shout out to Julia Piquet and Jenna Petty, respectively, the better half of Daniel Suarez and Harrison Burton. Julia Piquet got in a nasty crash the last turn of lap 1, and Jenna Petty didn't see her coming off the barrier, had a collision. That was a really hard hit, and they were okay. But I know it was karting, but man, it's a real hit, real speed. So that was interesting. Cool to see that. And I know they did something with iRacing a couple of years ago with that as well, and the Legends cars at Texas. But this was fun to see at the Trackhouse Motorplex. And that's my one shining moment. Congratulations to McCall Galding with that win.
It's been a thing for years, and I think it's great that they, have continued to keep that thing going with the Better Half Dash and everything. I still remember a tweet from Matt Kenseth, and that's, kind of a bombshell in and of itself, because there aren't too many Matt Kenseth tweets. If he only comes on Twitter like once a year, but there was a tweet from Matt Kenseth, I think around 2011, 2012, and he said that, he was getting, I think Katie Kenseth ready for her first Better Half Dash, and he said something like, looking all over, but no sign of Danica's husband, because that was right when Danica was trying to break into the NASCAR world with her nationwide career and the Cup Series. So that was kind of an interesting tweet that has recirculated a couple times there. But great to see that event is still going strong, and congratulations again to McCall Galding as well. Casey, what's your one shining moment from this weekend in motorsports?
Of course, McCall Galding is Zane Smith's fiance. I should say.
There you go.
Well, of course, Julia Piquet is Daniel Suarez's fiance, and of course, Jenna Petty is currently Harrison Burton's girlfriend. So, just wanted to make sure I clear all that up. I'm going to give it to you guys for letting me come back. So that's my one shining moment of the week. Also being at Berlin, I got to give it to Frankie Muniz. I just got to say, one of the best people I've been around and talked with. Anytime you go in that ARCA garage, it's always a good group of drivers that you get to talk with. I've known Jesse Love for a long time. Sean Hingarani's has appeared on this channel quite often. William Sawalich I've gotten to talk with and got to know him. It's just a fun group of drivers to interact with, talk with, and just kind of get to know them. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I will stick in Berlin as well, and of course we mentioned it during the show, but I want to give a shout out to Tony Breininger. I know it's been a little bit of a challenge for her to get up to speed in the ARCA Menards Series over the last couple of years, but to finally get that weight off her shoulders and get a top 5 finish, I think is going to be a real positive momentum boost for her going forward. On top of the positive momentum that she's had already with her Truck Series starts, and particularly her debut, I think she's really started to turn a corner, and that's been great to see. So she is my one shining moment for this weekend, and that is going to do it for us tonight on another episode of Grid Live Encore. So be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, LinkedIn, and most importantly, right here on YouTube. Help us on our journey to 700, 800, 900, and eventually 1,000 subscribers. If you really like what you saw tonight, you can take 5 minutes after the show to consider joining our Patreon. Join Colin Deschelle, Mark, Robin, and David in investing in Grid Network to help keep us on the air throughout 2023. Our long-term goal of $500 per month will allow us to begin attending races on site on a more regular basis and get Josh out to Portland next year, as he wanted to do this year, expanding our coverage for you, the viewers. If you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can do that as well through Buy Me a Coffee. The link to that is also in the description box below. You can buy a coffee for your favorite honor talent. So say you want to specifically contribute to Josh coming to Portland next year, you can do that through Buy Me a Coffee. Any amount will help us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now, on Wednesday, don't miss a special episode of Grid Tonight with Josh, Kobe, and Matt White. The Women in Motorsports show will be back on Friday as well. And, of course, you can stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage throughout the week. And stay tuned on Grid Tonight. There should be an announcement coming from Stewart Haas Racing regarding Josh Berry and what will be a 33-year-old rookie in the Cup Series next year. I know we've got a couple baseball fans on the show tonight as well with Casey and Brandon. This is a reference to Chris Coates and his journey with the Philadelphia Phillies. This was a book that came out after he made it to the majors and eventually the World Series. My 13-year journey from the minor leagues to the World Series in 2008. Josh Berry will be a 33-year-old rookie next year with Stewart Haas Racing, so I figured we might have some fun with that. But other than that, gentlemen, any final thoughts before we sign off for the evening?
Zane Smith will be in the 28 this week for RSS Racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And how about this? 2022 ARCA Menards Series West champion Jake Drew will make his NASCAR Truck Series debut this weekend at Nashville in the 66 truck. So that was cool to see right there. And Corey Roper is back in the 04 truck this weekend for Roper Racing. So just wanted to make sure and get that all out there. Usually I like to give some entry list updates during this time of the show. So yeah.
Yep, very cool. And this is kind of my week off from work, so going to make the most of it. And at the end of the weekend on Sunday, I'll be out at the Speedway as a fan. So all I can say is NASCAR.
Yes.
Yes, that is all.
Yes.
There we go. Well, Casey, you took one of mine. It's great to see Jake Drew back on an entry list for somebody who very nearly won a championship in ARCA West in 2021, crossed the line actually as the champion, and then had his teammate Trevor Huddleston let Jesse Love past to take the championship away, but ended up getting redemption for it last year and winning a championship in the ARCA Menards Series West. A little bit disappointing that he couldn't find a full-time ride for this year, but great to see him continuing to try to find an opportunity here and getting one now. A truck series going to be great to see him make his debut and great to see him back behind the wheel here in 2023.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's going to be fun this weekend. Of course, all three divisions are at Nashville this weekend. Plus, the ARCA Menards Series will be at Elko Speedway this weekend too. So lots to watch with that one. Should be a fun track. I'm not sure what. Of course, we got Formula E this week. What else we got? I think that's it. So I don't know. Oh yeah, MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3 will be. I'm not sure where they are, but I know MotoGP is racing next week.
Can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, and the 6 Hours at the Glen, too.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for Brandon Crossland and Casey Campbell and our friend Joshua Burch as well, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next episode right here on GRID Network.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.